Dear section, dears, families, loved ones, friends, random people who feel they haven't Zoomed enough this year and therefore joined us. Happy, happy, oh, happy graduation day. It's an enormous pressure. I think that's the Freudian slip. It's an enormous pleasure to spend this time with you. And I'm very grateful for the invitation to take part in this extraordinary moment in your lives. Unless, of course, I was forced upon you, and then I would rather you just nod and smile and we pretend this never happened. For those of you who don't know me or don't remember me, my name is Sophus Reinert, and I taught Section D's Business Government and International Economy last year. It was a course about how the world works, taught, of course, at a time when much of the world suddenly didn't seem to work at all. And if I have one overarching memory of your section, is how extraordinarily impressed I was and am by the cheerfulness by which you navigated the storms of the past 2 years. How you debated difficulties, how you faced difficulties, and how you overcame difficulties. And to notice how ultimately Section D made us all better people in the process. Now, last time we met virtually again, I suggested there might be a great deal of value in actually acknowledging and addressing the bad as well as the good in life, to fully live and to accept, even embrace the bittersweet nature of life, which at the end of the day may be more like a vermouth than a champagne, say. Because last year has been difficult. But as I think I included even in my Nietzschean mayonnaise recipe for your section cookbook last summer, what hurts us but doesn't kill us tends to make us stronger. Unless it's bad mayonnaise, which just makes you very, very ill. Never try that. But it's in this spirit that I think is worthwhile noting from the offset that this is, of course, not a traditional graduation. There's an elephant in this Zoom. You don't get to roast in the sun for hours or soak in the rain. You don't get to sit through 10 sections worth of names being read up on distant speakers you can't really hear. Instead, we get one last gloriously awkward stint on Zoom together. What more can you ask for? I do, however, want to stress that just because it's not traditional doesn't mean it's not a real graduation in every sense of that word that's actually significant to you and to others. You will, of course, all have graduated many times before. Beginning that radiant day, many of you left daycare to move into kindergarten. But for most of you, this will be the very last time you graduate. It will be sort of the culminating graduation of your lives. And as such, I would encourage you to pause for a moment today and think about what graduations actually mean and what they're meant to signify. It's tempting to just think of them as sort of a transition of sorts, a ceremonialization of the passage, say from a life of studying to a life paying student loans, but there's much more to them than that. As you may have guessed from my rather Hogwartian attire today, as I said to some of you, they sent me a hat as well, but alas, it's too small for my gigantic head. I'll have to do it without it. Graduations and the way we've ritualized them are a relic of European universities in the late Middle Ages. And the word graduation itself, of course, comes from the Latin gradus, or step. And the idea was that it was a step upwards in a hierarchy of knowledge and authority and initiation, in a sense, into a higher level of scholarship, learning, and expertise. And in this broader sense, even the most sedentary of you has taken many, many, many steps, both physical and metaphorical, to get to this particular Zoom and to this particular graduation. Each step built on the last. Each step was harder, and with each step, the stakes seemed higher. I'd just like to take a few minutes today, before we get to what you're actually here to do, to sort of ponder what that means, what we should make of this last graduation. Because one of the most extraordinary and complicated things to deal with about academic life at Harvard, I think, is the fact that wherever you came from, you've all proven yourself repeatedly every step of the way that took you to Aldrich and then to this Zoom. You've all proven yourselves this is what makes Aldrich so intimidating, but also what makes it so magical. You're all at the top of your games. To use sort of biggie language, you're all exceptional without any inflation in section D. You've all succeeded. And simply by virtue of being on this Zoom, I hope you never again feel any need to somehow prove yourselves in any sense. Obviously, you may, for career choices that are entirely your own, end up having to hop through arbitrary burning hoops in the future. But by most standards, your achievements are already beyond compare. And I think you should let that sink in. Partly, of course, you've been helped along by accidents big and small. And I think it would probably be good for your souls if you took a moment today, maybe 2 moments, sort of between drinks, to acknowledge the roles of fate and luck on your personal paths. And to think about what that suggests about how you should think about the world and how you should approach the many, many, many people who are less fortunate than yourselves. As Luke 12:48 expressed a general human sentiment, to whom much is given, much will be required. I can assure you that's not the only time today you will hear that phrase. And just because something could be in a fortune cookie doesn't mean it's not true. But partly, as Machiavelli liked to say, fortune also favors the bold, and it remains that statistically speaking, you have worked harder, you've been bolder, and you've simply done better than most other competitors in what the great Roman statesman and philosopher Cicero liked to call the race of life. This marks a moment in the race of life, and you've all won. So please take a moment to let your guard down. It's not something people like you often do, but let your guard down. Take a deep breath. I'm violently asthmatic, so I feel very strongly about deep breaths. And I would encourage you all to breathe deeply. I would even encourage you to rest on your laurels, but they're not very comfortable to lie on anyway. But the point is, you should collect yourselves. For believe it or not, now comes the hard part. Now comes the part that truly matters. Which is why in this moment of celebration of your past achievements, I want to reiterate a simple point I've raised with you on numerous occasions in various guises over the years. And that's that the steps you're going to take now from this day on are much more difficult and more significant than all the hard steps you took to get to this particular Zoom. For in spite of all the hard work and the hardships, the hangovers, the sacrifices, you nonetheless had something like a blueprint to follow, not to mention broadly agreed upon ideas about what success might look like in academic efforts or in life in general. Learning to play with others in kindergarten, acing arbitrary standardized tests like SATs and GMATs, not flunking the Fin 2 final. And even if you did, then who cares? You're on this Zoom. The biggie cold call, you name it. They're all things that we sort of knew were good to get done with. But getting back to the question of what the graduation actually means, this graduation, I would encourage you to think of it as a gathering to celebrate the decades of dedication necessary for you to reach the end of this well-worn map that takes you to be graduates of Harvard Business School. And herein lies the rub. The clearly delineated lines of the lanes in which you've been running this race of life so far are now resolutely behind you. They're not in front of you. Hence the difficulty and the complexity and the significance of the steps you're going to take now. I often spoke to you in class about how, this world, once you graduated from these hallowed halls, and then later this hallowed Zoom. Now this world is now. Ahead lies just a wild and wonderful wilderness. And on your compass, from this day on, only you get to set true north. Only you get to decide where you want to go. Pick, as Romans like Cicero like to say about my own homeland. Sunt dracones, here there be dragons. And the dragons are waiting for you. Indeed, I can remember no time in my own life in which there were more dragons in the world than today. But thanks to the steps you've taken, thanks to the degrees to which you've prepared, and thanks to each other, I know you're fully armed to face whatever comes your way. Because you're no longer apprentices or journeymen in the guild of life. You're masters of your own destinies. And I can imagine no better dragon slayers or dragon tamers, depending on your temperament. I'm not judgmental. Maybe you like dragons. I can think of no better dragon dealers than Section D. And this graduation marks the moment you truly step into your own lives to make a difference your own way. And needless to say, the world needs you to make that difference. You should be proud. You should be exhausted. You should be elated and eager with expectation. I know I'm all of that and much more on your behalfs. Because with that, we get to the point where we can formalize this final step of the map, this graduation to the real world that awaits you. And to get us started, Jan Rivkin has an important message for you.
Congratulations again to the class of 2021. You are now officially HBS graduates. You know, graduation day is my favorite day of the year. I love seeing our students so happy. I love seeing their families and friends so rightly proud of their graduates and so excited about their bright futures. And we now come to my favorite part of my favorite day of the year, the diploma ceremony, where we recognize each and every member of your section. As members of the class of 2021 are recognized, you'll hear mention of three kinds of honors. The first is distinction. This is for students who earned academic honors in both the first year and the second year of our program. The second is high distinction. These individuals not only earned honors in the first year and the second year, they also had combined academic performance that placed them in the top 5% of their class as a whole. These students were also known as George F. Baker Scholars, commemorating the individual whose generosity in the 1920s allowed us to build the campus. I invite you to look at the Baker Scholars page on the graduation website to learn more about the legacy of George Baker and this particular distinction. Third and last, but by no means least, the Dean's Award. The Dean's Award celebrates the extraordinary achievements of graduating students who during their time at HBS made distinctive contributions to Harvard Business School, or the broader community. These students have contributed to the well-being of others through amazing acts of leadership. Students and all members of the community nominate these individuals, and then Dean Datar makes the final selection. So please enjoy the diploma ceremony, celebrate each and every member of your section. I hope that your section will remain close through the years as mine has, and I hope that these 2 years at HBS will be just the beginning of an ongoing conversation among you as you enjoy long, happy years of making differences that are meaningful to you and meaningful for the world. Be well and stay close.
Finally, we have arrived at the moment you've been working for all these years and why we're here. The diploma ceremony that's manifesting your efforts and symbolizing your success in the race of life, not to mention your graduation to this brave new world of dragons that awaits. Now, you'll be grateful to learn that in his infinite wisdom, HBS hired a professional to make sure everyone's names were pronounced correctly. Needless to say, for your section in particular, given my presence, that will only be a boon. But as each person's name is called out, and plausibly in a recognizable manner, I would encourage you to sit back and think of how this person, this section mate, influenced your own journey, your path these past few years. How they helped you learn, how they helped you laugh, how they helped you cry in a good way, hopefully. Because you are an extraordinary group of people. And as I guess I'm temperamentally quite Norwegian, this bragging I find is of very limited charm in most contexts I can possibly imagine. But on this one occasion, please celebrate and rejoice yourselves and each other with abandon. As the names are called up, please channel your joy, express it with clapping, with hollering, with, I know, interpretative dance. When it comes to expressing joy, I'm deeply ecumenical, so anything goes. Try to forget that you're being recorded for posterity and just let your soul speak. Because now, as if we were on Baker Lawn, I call Harvard Business School Class of 2021, Section D.
Yazan Abuheda. Anuti, high distinction. Addis Asfa. Ziad Ba'ashin. Robert Baldwin. Taylor Beyer. Liz Bloom, distinction. Juan Pablo Botero Duque. Clark Zen. Rahul Chavla. Will Chirwa, distinction. Isha Chowdhury. Anjali Christie. Eliana Cohen. Patrick Dean. Abai Devakaruni. Hanel Ferris. Rasim Farouk. Max Farrington. Sebastian Fisher. Aditi Guy, high distinction. Claire Gibbons. Charlie Green. Rabia Hanif. Jude Hanline. Bill He. Natalie Jackson, distinction. Nikita Jagadish. Sarah Jetty. Patricia Jiang. Fred Jones. David Keatley. Noor Khaladi. Jeremy Kubak. Robert Lane. Emily Lang. Joanne Lowe. Nicholas Luzaraga. Lucas Mackey. Kyle Meyerhofer. Barton McGuire, distinction. Nino Mchedlishvili. Jose Mena. Andrew Migliazza. Koji Murase. Lucas Musi. Stephanie Miles. Na Nui. Alexander Nixarian. Neely Nimmix. Thomas Orr. Austin Osborne. Joseph Pantoga. Veronica Polin, high distinction. Elise Propus. Cricket Roberts. Raffaele Russo. Kanako Sakai. Carlos Sanchez, distinction. Rob Self, high distinction. Surbhi Singhel. Kurt Tanyu. Ella Thompson. Justin Troyani. Lillian So. Ernesto Vero Gorbitz. Andrew Vatisse, high distinction. Daniel Wernick. Whitney Wilson. Wesley York. Andy Zhao. Dandy Zhu.
Congratulations, Section D. Let me be the 15th person to congratulate you on officially being graduates of Harvard Business School. And as much as I enjoy this awkward silence with myself in my study, I would warmly encourage you all to unmute and just holler for a bit and celebrate yourself.
Maybe
Yay!
Yay!
Love you, Sopus.
I love you guys. Thank you for, unless they force me upon you, but anyway, thank you for doing this. I for some reason, Monty Python came to mind, you know, and there was much rejoicing. This was as much rejoicing as I've seen in a very long time, and just what I need, I think, after these 2 years. But thank you. As the scenes we just witnessed should make clear, you've all walked many, many steps to get to where you are, but you have not walked alone. I see you have friends, you have family, you have loved ones who have cheered for you, who have helped you, who had carried you through hard times. And many of you have people who've helped you who are with you only in spirit. And that's part of what makes life so sweet and so bitter. There will be important people in your lives who come and who go. And I think it's very important to highlight that. Back to the earlier point about luck and fate and the help that we all depend on to succeed in life. So my final homework for you is really to today, tomorrow, every day for the rest of your life, really, to remember that though you may have one wild and precious life, you do not walk alone. Remember all that for which you should be thankful and strive to make others thankful in return. And to highlight this, you've all contributed pictures of those who supported you on your journey, your loved ones, your friends, without whom you would not be who or where you are in life. So please join me now in thanking them for your achievements. This montage of support will mark the end of our particular ceremony today and the first step of your voyage ahead. I look forward to seeing you for years to come. But so far, thank you for all the good times. Thank you for your patience and your kindness. Thank you for your combativeness and your humility, for your dreams and your trust. And thank you for making me part of your journey. May you all find your paths, and may you all face our dragons boldly. Tusen takk og skittfiske.